Okay, you've probably seen the headlines. A huge blockbuster film, two massive stars, and a jaw-dropping $400 million lawsuit. Yeah, the conflict between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has been everywhere in 2025. But I promise you, the story you think you know, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We're here to dig past all that noise and figure out what's really going on. Exactly. I mean, what we see on the surface, the movie, the celebrities, that's just the start. Underneath it all, there's some really serious allegations, a massive legal battle, and a media firestorm that has totally taken on a life of its own. So let's start with the key players. So, on one side, you've got Blake Lively, the star of the super hyped movie It Ends With Us. And on the other, Justin Baldoni, who was not only her co-star but also the director. This was supposed to be a massive career-defining movie for both of them. Instead, it completely imploded into a legal war, starting with Lively's complaint and then escalating with Baldoni's absolutely staggering $400 million countersuit. All right, to even begin to make sense of all this chaos, we have to go back to the beginning. We need to separate what's fact from what's just, internet fiction. So let's walk through the official timeline, what we actually know for sure based on real documents. So it all started with these whispers of tension on set. But then, on December 20th, 2024, it got very real. Blake Lively filed a formal complaint alleging a hostile work environment and sexual harassment. Baldoni's response was just as fast and, frankly, explosive, a complete denial of everything, and that huge defamation lawsuit. And since then, 2025 has just been a nonstop whirlwind of legal filings, with neither side backing down one bit. And let's be super clear about this. What we just went over isn't gossip. It's not based on some anonymous source or a tweet. These are confirmed legal actions from actual court filings. This is our baseline for the truth. So we have the legal facts, but that's only like half the story, because this case did not stay in the courtroom. No, it exploded online. How in the world did that happen? Let's break down the anatomy of this media storm. I mean, that's the real question, isn't it? Hollywood is full of lawsuits, but very few of them capture the public's attention like this one did. What was it about this case that was just so different? Well, it turns out this thing was basically the perfect recipe for a viral storm. First, you've got immense celebrity power. Then you add the incredibly explosive nature of the claims. We're talking harassment and defamation. This creates these dueling narratives, he said, she said, that just fuels endless debate online. And the final ingredient, social media, which acts like gasoline on the fire, creating this feedback loop that makes the story absolutely inescapable. And this brings us to what I think is a really crucial part of the story. The massive, massive gap between how the public sees this whole conflict and what the legal documents are actually saying. The public narrative is pretty much all about picking a side, right? It's either Team Lively or Team Baldoni. It's emotional and it kind of demands a simple hero versus villain story. But the legal reality, oh, it's a completely different universe. It is nuanced, it's incredibly complex, and most importantly, it's still unresolved. There's been no verdict here. And the consequences of this public narrative are very, very real. The court of public opinion has delivered its own verdicts, and that has led to some really serious fallout. The internet hasn't just been a place for people to talk about the case. It's become a key player in it. And this is where things get really, really messy. To see just how much the online reaction can overshadow the original conflict, all we have to do is look at what happened to another actor from the film. So this actor, Brandon Sklenar, he saw all the toxicity online, and he tried to step in. He posted a simple message, just encouraging people to focus on kindness and the positive themes of the film instead of all the drama. A totally harmless, reasonable request, right? Wrong. The result was anything but reasonable. He was just hit with a tidal wave of backlash, and that included death threats. This whole thing reveals a really chilling truth about these media storms. There's no middle ground. Nuance is seen as a betrayal, and anyone who tries to mediate just becomes another target. So this all leads us to the big question. Where does this whole thing go from here? Well, if you're hoping for a quick and tidy resolution, you are probably going to be disappointed. This story is far, far from over. Look, the legal machinery is still in full motion. Court schedules are active, and both sides have their legal teams digging in for a long fight. And as new little details leak out, public opinion is just going to keep swinging back and forth. This has turned from a lawsuit into a long-term narrative battle that will almost certainly stretch well into 2026. And that's really why this matters so much, even beyond Hollywood. This story kind of holds up a mirror to our culture. It's all about how we process information, how we choose our sides, and how we decide what and who to believe in an age where there's just endless information flying at us. We crave stories that fit what we already think, and when it involves people we feel like we know, our brains form these strong emotional positions almost instantly. It really leaves us with a critical question we have to ask ourselves. In a story this complicated and this emotional, how do we separate what's actually real from what's just part of the media machine, a machine that's designed to keep us angry, engaged, and clicking? The world is just full of stories like this that demand we look past the headlines. And here at AIV, that's what we love to do. If you want to keep digging deeper with us, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what we break down next. Thanks for hanging out with us.